once again for joining us on our next episode of the Jesus Saves podcast. I am your host, Jazmine, and this is Belquis Romero.
Yeah.
So we're going to start off today with Belquis' favorite verse. Go ahead.
Yeah, it is 2 Timothy 1:7. It says, "For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." I really like that one.
Thank you so much for that. We're going to start off with some general questions. One of the first questions that we're going to ask today is, where are you from?
I am from San Diego, California.
San Diego.
Yeah, I was born and raised over there. Yeah, that's where I'm from.
How long have you been here for?
I've been here, let's see, my daughter's 5. I want to say like 5 years.
5 years?
5 years in the city. But I moved to Lawton, Oklahoma when I was 19. And I was over there for about 3-4 years, something like that, 3-4 years. And then I moved back to San Diego. I was over there for a year and a half maybe. And then I moved back when I was pregnant.
What brought you to OKC?
I think what really pushed me was that I got pregnant of my, she's 5 now, but of my 5-year-old.
Oh, wow.
I think that's what I was like, you know what? It's cheaper over there. Things weren't going the way they were when we first got there. We felt like things were just, I don't know, we felt like doors were closing. So we're like, you know what? Let's just go back to Oklahoma City. And we did.
God's plan.
Yeah, it really was.
What church do you currently attend?
I go to Ministerios Rios de Agua Viva 2
In Oklahoma City?
in Oklahoma City.
How long have you been here for?
Yeah, 5 years.
The 5 years since
The
you
5
got
years since I got here.
Here. What position do you currently hold in your church?
Is it a position? I am in the praise team. I sing in the
team?
praise team.
Give us a little.
No, don't even.
I love your voice. I wish everybody could hear it.
Oh, well, thank you.
Anybody that wants to hear it, just add her on Facebook. Her voice is beautiful, magnificent, literally the best.
Thank you.
How long have you held your position for?
Since 2000, I had to go on Facebook for this because I didn't remember. Since 2021, I started singing here.
Really?
Yeah.
How long have you been serving God for? When did you get baptized?
In general, about 9 years ago,
9 years.
I got baptized here.
How would you say your childhood was like?
My I think it was good. I think I lived each stages of my childhood. I was raised by a single mom. I never knew my father. I didn't know who he was, never met him. But my mom really tried her best to give us what we needed mostly. So yeah, I think that was my childhood. I didn't really experience too much trauma, but yeah, I lived out my childhood.
How many siblings did you have?
I have 4 sisters and 3 brothers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
A good mix of both.
Yeah.
All from your mom?
All from the same mama.
Oh.
Different dads. No judge to my mama.
It's okay. It's my kids also.
It's fine, you know.
It's just how it is.
We
now.
love each other like the same, you know. Those are my brothers and sisters.
Yeah, you will never see them.
No, differently.
As anything. Yeah,
not at all.
I grew up with my siblings being from different moms. We grew up with the same
dad.
The same dad. Yeah, we all have the same dad, but different moms. But
Yeah.
all my siblings, I see them all as
Like they're
full-blooded.
because people say step. I guess they would be considered your step siblings.
Yeah, half siblings.
Half siblings.
Yeah.
Sorry, step girl. Yeah, but I'm like, it doesn't feel that way.
No, it really doesn't.
No, it
Especially if you
doesn't.
grow up together.
Yeah.
It's all the same.
Yeah, definitely.
You love them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say was a turning point that led you to God?
Sheesh. I think, honestly, meeting my husband, I was 17 when I met him.
Oh.
He was 18. And at that time, I was going through a lot of emotional turmoil, like depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts. And he would invite me to church, and I would say, yeah, I'll go. But I would never go. Like, he would go in the mornings to pick me up. I was so mean. He would go in the mornings to pick me up, and I wouldn't be there. I would leave that night to my cousin's house because I knew he was going to take me to church, and I didn't want to go. But I didn't want to say no. I didn't want to be rude, but yet I wasn't even there. So that is what I think I think pushed me to go. I was like, you know what? Let me go, because he's inviting me. Yeah.
What obstacles did you encounter along the way?
I think our our relationship, because once I actually um felt the presence of God, that's when I was like, whoa, like this is what I want. Like I'm finally, this is what I needed in my life. And but my husband at that time, he left the church. He didn't want anything to do with God. We were already in Oklahoma, and I think our relationship hit a very like rocky point, and it was a lot of emotional abuse, physical. We used to fight a lot physically. And I felt like every time we would go to church, we would go home and like the a huge fight would occur. And I think that's what it was like that for a lot. The 3 or 4 years I was in Lawton, it
Oh,
was like
wow.
that. And that's the reason why my in-laws were like, you guys gotta go to California with us, because we're leaving, and y'all cannot stay like this, you know. So ellos nos jalaron para California with them.
They knew about
Oh
everything?
yeah, he used to go with them, and he was all scratched up, and I didn't have a good relationship with my in-laws. I was very rude. Um, so yeah, they knew everything that was going on. I
Oh,
think
wow.
that's what I had to go through.
How do you feel like God opened doors for you in the ministry?
Well, um, I I don't know if they needed the help, because at that time, there was a sister named Yesenia that was here, and she was singing for a long time, and she's very good at singing. Um, but I don't know, maybe I don't know if it's because they needed the help, but she invited me to sing, and because somebody told her that I like to sing. I don't know who. I think it was my sister-in-law, Alma. So then she asked me, I heard you sing, and I was like, I think I can sing. Y ya, pues fue por ella. It was because of her that I got into the praise team. And then she left the church, and hasta cuenta, our leader was like, okay, well, you need to lead some songs because sister ain't here no more. And I was like, Lord. And I did a couple panchos. Like, I made my mistakes singing. I did a few panchos, but by the grace of God, I'm still here and I'm still learning. But I think because of that, because of her.
Do you feel like you got any like pushback, spiritual, physical, anything?
Yeah, definitely. Because of singing, definitely. I did. A lot has happened these past few years that I've been singing. And one of them, it has been like, am I supposed to be doing this? You know, like what's the purpose of me doing this? And there's been times where I've been wanting to quit, but I can't do that to God. Yeah. Was that the question, or did I like
No.
okay?
Yeah. No, you're
All
good.
right.
um, have you encountered spiritual warfare?
Um, you know, recently, like recently, or like in general in
In
my
general,
in
yeah.
general. Well, yeah. Before I met Christ, um, I did, like like I said, I was very depressed.
Mm-hmm.
That spirit of depression really hit my life, and anxiety, and I was very suicidal. I don't think my mom knows this, but when I was living with her, I was 17. This was before I knew my husband, but I knew my husband, but this was before we actually moved in together. But I was living with my mom, and I know it was like everyone was asleep. I had insomnia, so it was like 4 in the morning, and I would lock myself in the restroom, and I would begin to just talk to myself. Like, I would hear all these voices in my head, like if the person was right in front of me, you know, telling me that to kill myself, that I was nothing, that I wasn't beautiful, that I wasn't going to, you know, do anything in life. And it got to the point where I would begin to physically hit myself because I couldn't stand these voices in my head. Um, so that, I think that has been the biggest spiritual thing that I've ever encountered, that with the enemy. And
Did you know at the time that that's what that was?
No, I didn't, because that's how much the enemy blinds you. Like, that's how much I was blind, that I thought it was just the norm. And it was like an every single night thing. I would just lock myself in the bathroom, begin to hit myself, argue with the voices in my head. I would hear these voices throughout the whole day, but it was during the night where I would hear them the most. And I would just be like, it got to the point, I don't like to say this out loud, but this is real. It got to the point where I knew it was a devil, but I didn't realize how severe the situation was. And I would tell the devil, if you really are as powerful as you say you are, why don't you just take my life, like right now? Why don't you just kill me right now? And I would get so mad, because no matter how many different ways I would try to do it, to take my own life, I just couldn't do it. And now que estoy en el camino de Dios, yo entendí, es que the devil is not as powerful as he seems, as he makes himself to be, you know? So I was telling him, if you are as powerful as you say you are, why don't you take my life? But he's not, you know, he's not as powerful as he says he is. So that's the reason why I think that every time I would try to take my life, I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And I would get so mad at myself because I couldn't do it. So yeah, I think that has been the biggest
Spiritual warfare.
yeah. that I've encountered. And man, I remember my cousins would, I heard them once. It was my cousin and my mom and them. They were speaking in the living room, and she was like, ¿qué es lo que tiene la Belquis? Algo tiene Belquis. And they're like, no, pues yo la veo bien, decía mi mamá. No, algo tiene Belquis. And yeah, I mean, I was constantly arguing with these voices in my head, but nobody really went up to me and asked, hey, what's wrong? Because I love my family, but we're not really, we don't talk about it. We don't talk about things, you know?
Right.
Yeah, that's always been them. Like, we have an idea that maybe this person's going through something, but we don't talk about it.
You didn't grow up religious in any way?
No, I didn't. I grew up having an idea of who Jesus was because of my mom, but it wasn't the right one. It wasn't the right one. It wasn't what I know now, you know, that he's powerful, that he loves me, that he is awesome, and you have to have a relationship with him, you know, that, yeah. My mom, she actually confused us because, que pónganse a orar, but then she had the Virgin Mary and then Santos and all of these things. So I think she really confused us, which is crazy because now I know that she grew up Christian. And she grew up singing in a choir at church. But I don't know what happened.
Your mom's voice is beautiful too.
I think so. But she my mama.
Yeah.
But I think so. Yeah, she can sing.
What brought you to God? Like, I know you said it was your husband, his family.
Yeah, his family. His family started going to church. He started going to church. And then that's how I started going to church. And hasta que le hice caso, I finally listened to him and I went to church. But when I used to go to church in the First Apostolic of San Diego with him, because that's where they would go, I would I would be there, but as soon as I felt like, oh my God, like, why am I gonna cry right now, I would leave. Like, as soon as I felt like I had to cry, or I was feeling a little something, I would leave. And I would tell him, you know what, I gotta go. Like, let's just go. So you stay or you go, but I'm leaving. I didn't want to be there, but it was because of him. And then I think yeah, once we were here is when I was like, I felt the Spirit of God. But you know what's crazy? I didn't feel the Spirit of the Lord. I don't think it was in here in La Segunda. It was in this little church. When my in-laws moved here, my mother-in-law was trying to find a little church to attend to, an apostolic church to attend to, and she attended this little church. I don't remember the name of it. Don't remember the pastor's name, but that's when I first encountered the Spirit of God.
What was that like? Like, how did you know that it was the Spirit of God?
Because he was preaching. It wasn't during the songs. He was preaching. And when he was preaching, I wish I was trying to remember all the way here. What is it lo que dijo? Pero I don't remember what it was, but it was during his preaching that it got to me. And that's when I began to cry. And God spoke to me that day, and the pastor pointed right at me, and he said, you know, God has plans for your life and all of that. That's when I really opened up my heart and And yeah, that's when I felt the presence of God. And that's what I was like, I want this. This is what I want. Yeah.
And that's crazy that you say that because like I remember like back then I used to vape, and I remember I would tell God like, if there's something that you don't like from me, get rid of it from me.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that that was something, and I remember like I would vape sometimes and I would think about like, I don't think I'm ever going to stop vaping. I like the way this feels. And I remember God putting in my head, but the way I could make you feel is so much better than that. And I would think of that, and it would be like, it would give me chills, and I'd be like, okay, like then God doesn't want me doing this anymore. Until God actually had to speak to me like harshly, and I had to quit vaping because God spoke to me harshly. I never like to listen with God telling me like,
Con amor.
because God tells us very gently, like he's a very gentle, loving God. Like he'll tell us gently like, hey, I need you to stop doing that. And then he'll be like, hey, I need you to stop doing that. Until he's finally like, hey, I need you to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really like that. Like,
yeah.
It's like he's obviously he's our father.
He's our father.
He treats us like a father for sure.
Yeah, he really does.
Would you say that your relationship has improved a lot more since
with Christ? Yes, I think it has. It can obviously, it's gonna get better, right, and stronger, but it has been. And just recently, I think I had in a situation where I was doubting God. It was like a bunch of different emotions just back to back. I felt very discouraged. I felt okay, because there's this brother that I know. He's very close to the family, and you know, he recently had his thing, and you know, él tuvo his trials or whatever, and I judged him hard. I said, how can a person just walk away from God like that after like everything that God has done? How can a person just walk away? And then it felt like a week after I felt that. I felt like I don't want to be a Christian no more. Like I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to follow Christ anymore. Like what if I just drink a little bit or something like that? I felt that, and I was like, whoa, like why am I feeling this way? Obviously God spoke to me. I was like, okay, good. But then it was like one thing out of another, but it was all just emotional. So it was like, I want to leave. I don't want to do this anymore. And then it was, I don't want to be a Christian anymore. And then I was like, is God even real? You know? So it was that. But then I had an encounter, I think like 3 Sundays ago, I think, during the altar call. And that I felt like God really shook me. He shook me, and he said, I'm still here, you know, I'm still God. There's nothing better than me, and just he just shook me literally. If you look at the live, I'm shaking. And yeah, that really improved the way I view Christ, because I've always thought that I was that person that, because of what I went through before meeting Christ, with my depression and all of that, with hearing voices and all that, I always felt like I was that person that, no, I'm never gonna leave God. But it happens. Like the enemy's gonna try to do whatever it can to discourage us and to quitarnos, you know, del camino de Dios, anything. And it was a true wake up call to be feeling all those emotions back to back.
And it's definitely a process. Like God never finishes working with us. And if you feel like God finished working with you, you need to check back on that.
Yeah, you're the problem. Yeah, that's true.
100%.
And that's what's beautiful about it. I don't ever want God to stop working in my life.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah, that's beautiful. There's always something to learn. There's always about God, you know? There's always something new. And that's beautiful. I want that forever.
And I think that that's also why we get doubts, because we're like, we get stagnant and we're like, well, is this all there is to it? Well,
yeah, like, is this it? Yeah, that's true. But no.
We're not meant to be stagnant. We're supposed to grow from where we're at.
Yeah.
That's why you're where you're at right now.
Yeah, amen, definitely.
Has God ever came through for you in a way that you can't explain or that nobody can explain?
Yeah, he has. And then even talking about it it feels weird, but no, it's before I got pregnant with my 5-year-old, I was also battling a spirit of bulimia. It was first anorexia, then it became bulimia, and it was really bad. I didn't think people noticed, but they obviously did. I was like 100 pounds. And I always told myself I'm never going to have kids. Never. It's not for me. I'm never going to do it. And I think that was part of the reason why I never wanted to have kids, is because I didn't, this is going to sound so shallow, but it's true. I didn't want to be fat, you know, or whatever, because that's what bulimia is. Look at the enemy, you know, which is nothing wrong with that. But that's how the enemy makes you feel. And I was like, no, never. So there was a point where I was praying, because I was also singing in the First Apostolic of San Diego, but I felt like a hypocrite. And there was a prayer that I did at home. I was praying, I was feeling the Spirit, and I told God, I'm such a hypocrite, because I'm out here singing about how powerful you are, about your love and all of this, but you can't even take this sickness away from me. Like, I still have bulimia. Like, I am a hypocrite. And in that moment, I felt God told me, oh, you're going to have a baby. You're going to have a child. And I said, okay, yeah, definitely. I'll have a baby, whatever it takes, but I don't want this anymore. And not having a child was something that I didn't want, you know? And I said, okay, yeah, I'll have it. And then a week later, like 4 or 5 days later, I found out that I was pregnant. Like, I already knew that I was pregnant. I had a feeling that I was pregnant. I told my husband, I think I'm pregnant. And yeah, I just took a test. I told my sister, I think I'm pregnant. And my little sister was like, okay, let's go buy a test right now. Let's go. And yeah, I was pregnant. And that, because God has told me, has spoken to me. He does speak to us when you're in prayer and you seek him and you want more of him. He speaks to you. And that, I don't know. Sometimes when I say that out loud, like, Dios me dijo de que yo me iba a tener un hijo, una bebé, o Dios me dijo that God told me that I was gonna move back to Oklahoma, because he told me you're gonna move back to Oklahoma, and he showed me the house, a white house where I was gonna live in, and that's where you're gonna raise your baby. Yeah, I think that's what it was, that God spoke.
Whenever you say God spoke, a lot of people have this question. A lot of people ask me that, like
how?
Yeah, they're like, how did he speak to you? How would you say that he speaks to you?
It's like a thought. It's like a thought. Like, just imagine, like, you're in the Spirit. It's just you and God, the Holy Spirit, and then un pensamiento se te viene. Like, you're gonna move back to Oklahoma. You're gonna raise this baby there. And then he shows you a little image of a white house. You see an image of a white house. And then you feel so confident and like, yes, sir. Like, that's, it's like a thought, you know. But it's not your thought.
Right.
It's just like, oh, se te viene un pensamiento. Así era para mí. That's how it was for me. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
Right, yeah. Okay, yeah. Because for me, that's how it was. It's just a thought. And you feel 100% that's God. That's God, because right. I didn't even want a kid. That's how I feel, like a thought.
Yeah, I understand that. I only ask for everybody else listening, because a lot of people ask me that, like, how do you know? But one thing that there was a time that I saw a meme. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And it's a meme where it, like, talks about, like, why do people continue putting things in God's hands when he has holes in them? And I remember being so upset, you know, because obviously that's very, like...
That's very offensive.
It's very blasphemous.
Yeah, it is. We're so overprotective of Jesus, right? You're like, how dare you?
Yeah, I saw that and I was so upset. I was like... I'm so mad at this. And I was talking to God. I was like, God, I'm so mad they were talking about you. You know, like, and God was like, okay, like, that's cool. I ain't even worried about it. And I was like, why? Like, are you not upset? No. He was like, because with the same holes in these hands, I was able to heal millions. And I was
yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Yep.
Chills.
Yes.
You know, and it's like a thought, and you're like, and then out of nowhere, you're like, ya te calmaste, and you're like, yeah.
And that's not something I could have made up in my head.
No.
Never.
No.
And that's why I'm like, I understand where you're coming from. It's definitely 100% a thought.
Yeah.
Like, I always talk about that same experience that I had with him to explain, like, the way that God talked to me. And I'm like, okay, that was not me. I could never say I could have said that. Like,
yeah, like, sometimes I don't even remember the verses, you know? Pero se te viene una, you're like, yes, that's God.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. What piece of advice do you think you would like to give to our listeners today?
I think that in everything, seek God. In everything, seek God. Give him your everything. Give him, no matter how dark you think you are, like no matter how dark you think your situation is, it's not for Christ. You know, there's nothing impossible for God. So in no matter how you're feeling, no matter what you're going through, no matter what you think about yourself, about your situation, just always seek God. If you're feeling sad, give it to the Lord, you know. Talk to him. Tell him how you feel. Be honest. He knows your heart. If you're angry, you know, just in your, if you want like emotional comfort, that's Christ. Like in everything you do, seek God. I think so. I hope that helps.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for that. And thank you
Yeah.
for doing this with us today. We are 100% grateful for you. Hopefully, God continues to bless you and continues to allow you to grow in His word and His
Amen.
ministry that He has for you. And, you know, we are all 100% grateful. I've been very nervous for this because I always knew that, you know, I wanted to podcast you and I was like, "Oh, I can't wait for this." So
Yeah.
it was nerve-wracking, but I'm glad that we
Yeah,
finally
we
did
did
this.
it. Because I feel the same way. But yeah, I feel the same way. But you're good. This is good.
Thank
Keep
you.
going. This is awesome. It
Thank you.
felt good.
Thank you.
I was feeling a little like apprehensive, like, oh, should I do this or should I not? But it felt good. It felt like God was like, yeah, just do it. So this is definitely de Dios. I think so.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Beautiful.
much.
You're
Well,
beautiful.
I appreciate everybody who has helped make this possible. My pastor, Jonathan Cruz, who blessed the podcast whenever I brought it to his attention. He did not ever doubt me in any way. My boyfriend who has helped me set up and all of this, and everybody who has participated so far, Brother Jubal Avalos and Belquis Romero today. Thank you guys for listening. Hopefully you guys come to our next episode.
Yeah.